Welcome to Municipal Affairs. Last month, over 2,000 municipal leaders from every province and territory descended upon the nation's capital for the annual Federation of Canadian Municipalities trade show and convention held at the Rogers Centre in downtown Ottawa. This 4-day event served as a vital forum for mayors, reeves, councillors, and other municipal officials to come together to listen, to share, and to lead. Now, the conversations were timely and urgent, from calls for bail reform and stronger support for mental health and addiction services to the growing demands for stable, predictable federal funding and the fight against misinformation in our increasingly digital world. Now, the agenda touched on a core challenges facing communities from coast to coast to coast. But while geography and demographics may differ, many of the struggles are shared. At the convention, we caught up with Whitehorse Mayor Kirk Cameron to talk about those very parallels, the issues his city faces, and how they resonate with municipalities big and small across this beautiful country. We also asked him why an organization like FCM is not just helpful, but essential for northern communities like Whitehorse, navigating complex ideas and needs with limited resources in a changing climate. Mayor Cameron, thank you so much for chatting with me at the last day of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Convention here in beautiful national capital, Ottawa, Ontario. As a mayor from the Yukon, what brings you all the way from Yukon to Ottawa for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Convention?
I think mostly because this is probably one of the most important venues for municipal leaders to voice their sense of the world. And I ran for office at the municipal level for a really good reason, which is it's the most immediate connection to the people of my city. So to me, to come here, I'm adding my voice, one of, I don't know how many thousand plus individuals from municipalities throughout the country. I'm adding one Yukon voice to that, one Whitehorse voice to that, and I think that's important for Canada to see how much our municipal leadership is engaged with our nation, because we don't work as an island called Whitehorse. We're part of a very big association, a very big set of interests throughout our nation.
One of the big things that happens at these conventions is the networking, is those side conversations in the hallways after the convention workshops. When you're in those sort of networking sessions and talking to people, are you hearing similar issues that are happening in Whitehorse that are happening across Canadian municipalities? Or, I hate to use your words against you, but is Whitehorse an island on its own dealing with its own issues?
And I would say no. And I would say that I don't know of a municipality in Canada that's not facing the same number one challenge that Whitehorse is facing, which is infrastructure demands, needs. I think we are all facing that throughout our country. We're in this situation where we've got three drivers for infrastructure need. One is climate change. We had a landslide over one of our major arteries into downtown Whitehorse 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago, this shut down one of two main arteries going into the core.
Which one was that? Because I was just up in Whitehorse. Is that the one going out towards...
to the south.
Okay, so it wasn't the area that I went.
So the Clay Cliff is on your right-hand side as you're heading up the hill toward the Alaska Highway.
Yes, okay.
And it's called the Robert Service Way. So that whole hillside fell down. Fortunately, nobody was in the way. It was a very busy day. Landslide happens. It just happened that there were vehicles on both sides of it, but not in the middle. And it went over the roadway, down over the embankment and into the Yukon River, completely erasing the Millennium Trail that people were walking on. And again, there were people on both sides of the slide. Nobody got hurt. And we just got lucky. So we shut it down for, I don't know, a month in that summer. And so everybody was coming into the core from the other one artery down the 2 Mile Hill. And the congestion, the gridlock that happened as a consequence of losing that one main artery was phenomenal. Add on top of that a need for a water treatment plant, again climate change related. We're a growing city, but we've also got a warmer years, and what that does, it drives the fact that you got to be on top of making sure that water supply is safe. So we got to put in a potentially $60 million water treatment facility to make sure our citizens are safe. That's climate change. We're, I think, the fastest growing community in the nation, and that has its own set of demands. As people come to live in Whitehorse, we got to provide everything. We got to provide new residential areas. We've got to provide water, sewer. We've got to provide garbage pickup. You name it. It all lands on the doorstep of municipal government. So we've got to take care of that. And we're a 1940s style community. So all that 40s, 50s infrastructure that was put in at that time, it's starting to time out. So we have to worry about that as well, replacing aging infrastructure. So those are the big three that keep me up late at night, wondering where am I going to get $1 billion+ to afford just the basic upkeep on infrastructure.
Do you get solutions?
Do
you get solutions here at FCM?
Yes,
what do you
you
take
do.
back? Because there might be some people in Whitehorse saying, oh, that's just politicians gathering together and partying it out and just not actually doing anything, spending the public time. What do you take back to Whitehorse from here that you can say, this is the tangible items that I learned at FCM in Ottawa that we're going to try to implement here, or we're going to look into to see if it would work in Whitehorse?
Yeah. Well, I'm taking back a message from the Prime Minister who came to speak to FCM day 2 of the conference, where he made the commitments about saying we have to grow, we have to diversify this economy called Canada from coast to coast to coast. We've got to get on top of that. It's got to be working with municipal government. So that's a message I'm taking back. That same message, if I read between the lines on that, includes infrastructure. So I like that message, and I can now take that back to Whitehorse and talk to my citizens about that. It's a nice message to hear. There'll be follow-up, a lot of working to do to now unlock the coffers that'll give us that kind of support. But the bottom line is the stamp has been put on that opportunity at this conference 2 days ago. This is good news. The other thing I take back to Whitehorse, $2.6 million. I met with the Minister of State for Sport and Adam Van Couverden.
Yeah. Former Olympian.
I thanked him profusely for his $2.6 million commitment to what's called the Arctic Winter Games, and that's a circumpolar games event that happens next year in Whitehorse in March. You should come up and take that in. It's 8 to 10 days of very intensive sports activities from around the circumpolar north, and we're fortunate to be hosting it next year. So they're very expensive. It's not as big as, say, the Canada Winter Games, which we also hosted about a decade and a half ago, but 2 decades ago. But it's big. It still is big. It attracts 1,000 athletes from around the north, and so we're hosting that in March of next year. So needs money. His government has given us $2.6 million. So that's a nice little treat to have as well.
That is.
Yeah.
What do you get, when I say you as the royal you, as in the city of Whitehorse, get from FCM that you couldn't do on your own? Because there might be many people at this convention say, what am I getting from this? What do you get, and what do you feel like the contribution that FCM gives to the city of Whitehorse?
Mostly, and it goes back to your earlier question, it is an opportunity to compare notes, find out what's happening across the country where we can back each other up on key messages that go to our nation, to federal government, provincial governments, territorial governments, to say, hey, we're all in this together. You need to feed municipal government to be able to keep up with the basics that most of our citizens need. I mean, the stuff we do isn't all that politically sexy, but man, oh man, is it important. You know it when something isn't working, like water being supplied to the doorstep or garbage pickup. You hear about it, and it becomes a really big political issue. So there's a host of related interplays there that, again, you get to talk to your fellow colleagues to have a meeting of minds and talk about solutions and bring ideas back. Talk to the mayor of Dawson City yesterday for quite a length of time, and we got some ideas about our Yukon and municipalities within the Yukon context. That's cool. Would it have happened in the Yukon? Well, it might have. If he had popped into Whitehorse and we'd gone for lunch, yeah, we might have come up with the same thinking. Here in this venue where you're not distracted by phones and computers and so on, you can have those detailed conversations and really think outside the box about where to find solutions for our citizens.
Mayor Cameron, always a pleasure to chat with you. I look forward to seeing you up in Whitehorse later this year.
Excellent. We'll make that happen.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Municipal Affairs, which was only made possible by you, our generous supporters of the Cross Border Network. Your continued support and financial backing of this show makes episodes like today's possible. If you want to join the growing list of supporters, head over to the crossborderinterviews.ca website and support the show today. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, and follow us on social media. For even more content and to learn more about the stories and the people we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Again, your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends, your family, and help us keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Municipal Affairs soon. Till then.